Hello, I'm Dr. Mike Smith from Action Coach St. Louis West for the Business Spotlight Series. Today we have Tyson Neal, who I'm going to introduce, and he's going to tell us about his business and go through our interview. Go ahead, Tyson.
Hey, Mike, Tyson Neal, great to be with you. I work with Flatworld and Solutions. We are a third-party logistics provider across all modes within the transportation realm of things. I actually have the honor of running our freight brokerage side, so domestic brokerage. Us as an organization, we're 18 years old. It was founded by two managing partners, Kirk, Farrell, and Rothermick. 18 years ago, they left their corporate jobs, cashed out their kids' 529 accounts, second mortgages out on their houses, and cashed in their retirement fund and started Flatworld with two laptops and Panera Bread Wi-Fi during the day and Fox and the Hound in the evening. And here we are 18 years later, providing logistics services to the marketplace.
Great. Thank you for the introduction. Now, were you there at the beginning, or were you one of the first employees, or were you one of the partners?
So actually, I was here about 2 years in to the creation of the company. Worked for these guys for about 3.5 years, resigned as the director of operations, and helped develop a freight brokerage agency through England Logistics. And me and another guy, we developed that for about an 8-year span, and then sold it to BMSF Logistics, the railway, in 2018. Worked for those guys for a couple of years, and then came back 3 years ago to Flatworld to develop out their brokerage.
Great. So I'm going to go through and ask you a series of questions, and again, they're just really to learn a little bit more about you. So you talked about the brokerage piece that you started. You talked about how Flatworld started. So what would you do differently if you had to start from square one in business again? What would you do differently?
I would say differently personally for myself. Is that what to clarify question?
Yeah, what would you do differently yourself? Yeah.
I would say I would probably find a mentor a lot sooner within my career that I could lean on and glean wisdom from. Something that I didn't do initially within the first several years of actually developing myself into the logistics world of things, but has been incremental once I did lock arms with a solid mentor.
How many years did you work before you found a mentor and start working with a mentor?
Yeah, so I would say it took me about 5 years before I locked arms with a mentor to start really gleaning wisdom and leaning on their experience.
So I know you have employees there. How many employees do you have there at your organization?
So Flatworld and Solutions, we're about 145 employees strong.
145 employees. So as an employer, what are the biggest learnings that you've had since being an employer, especially of that many people? Can you share with us what you've learned from, the biggest learnings from that time?
Yeah, I would say the biggest learnings is, frankly, everybody's different, right? So you kind of have to be a chameleon when you're a leader. There's really no cookie cutter for each individual. Everybody's different, right? So everybody has to be led differently, and then also just understanding that they're human beings, that nobody's perfect, and they have a life outside of this. And the reason why they're showing up to work every day is for that life outside of this. So having that understanding.
Yeah, in my corporate experience, HR, we were going through one day and having a chat, and we said, we hire employees, but unfortunately human beings show up, right? And all the problems that come with those folks and all the goodness that comes with them as well. That means both. So what are the qualities that you look for in employees? What are some of the qualities that you look for when you're hiring?
Yeah, I would say there's really two main qualities I look for is passion and integrity, right? I can teach a skill set. I can show them what we do day in, day out. But I can't teach them passion, and I definitely can't teach them integrity. I feel that's something that they have to bring to the table to be part of the team.
So how do you foster a positive and productive work environment in today's world where the unemployment rate is very low and it's really hard to even find workers? What are some of the things that you and your company do to foster that positive and productive work environment?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest thing is having empathy, being
Right.
empathetic, right? And understanding that they are human beings. Um, and truly caring, right? Treating them as if they're human beings. I feel that the more you appreciate somebody, the longer and harder they're gonna work for you.
Right.
Because my objective as being a leader is I never want to hear one of my employees wake up in the morning and say, "Oh, I have to go to work." No, it's I get to go to work, right? Because unfortunately, we all have to work if we want to feed our
Right.
families, and et cetera. So I
Right.
want to be an honor. I want them to really enjoy to come to Flatworld every day and show up not only for Flatworld but for our customers to provide them with that excellent service that we pride ourselves on.
Great. Thank you. So what are some of the common business misconceptions that you experience with your employees and friends, and how do you address them? There's people who have jobs out there, and then you're one of the leaders there. So, what are some of the misconceptions that you've heard in the past?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think one personally for me, from being a leader and the title I have as a managing director, I think a lot of times people think it's just it's all roses, but in reality, I'm actually the neck that gets choked when things go sideways, right? So it's not the higher up you get and the larger title you have. I think people think that that life becomes easier, but really it becomes more complicated because it's a heck of a lot easier to manage myself versus
Mhm.
having to manage a group of individuals that are all different, think differently, have different issues at home that they bring into the office, et cetera. So I would say that's probably the largest misconception is you get into that leadership role and they think it's all hunky dory and it's all roses, but in reality, it becomes a lot more strenuous and really, especially when you care. Sometimes I feel like I care too much, but I really
Right.
like seeing people thrive. I like being to experiencing hiring the kid out of college, watching them, buy their first house, watching them get married, watching them, have their first kid. I get to be a part of that, and that's huge for me. Yeah.
Great. So, what do you attribute your growth to from your organization? And if you can answer that in two different ways, one, you start with the company a couple of years after they opened, but you grew a part of that business unit. And I think you said you sold it off, right? Um, help us understand, or tell us a little bit about how you grew that to tell that story.
Yeah, so it wasn't a business unit within Flatworld. So I actually left Flatworld
Okay.
about 3.5 years in, resigned,
Okay.
and then helped develop a brokerage agency. Um,
Okay.
within that growth, at the time we were a traditional just technology LTL company.
Mhm.
Really didn't have a brokerage at Flatworld. So that was one of the leading factors of why I left was, it was a great opportunity, but then also got to learn this whole other aspect of transportation. And so now I'm back developing out the brokerage because I got to step away and learn it. But really, I think the key to any business is becoming obsessed with the customer. And so that's how you grow.
Right.
Is how do you provide that excellent level of service so that that customer is not a one and done, but they continue to come back and buy from you. And I think that's where we pride ourselves at with Flatworld. We don't have customer service. A lot of our competitors do. We believe in earning your business every day. And so we give them, there's an outcome. If you don't want to do business with
Right.
us, you can do that. So we want you to keep coming back and buying from us. We want to have that premier product. We're not
Right.
selling, not selling anything really tangible. We're selling service. And so
Right.
how can we be so obsessed with our customer to give them that wow factor and make them raving fans that they want to continue to come back and buy from us?
Great. Great. So how do you balance your personal life with the business demands? You've obviously you worked there, you left, you did a brokerage, you come back, you're building a new brokerage firm. So how do you balance, all the demands of the business with your personal life?
Yeah, I mean, one key word, discipline, right? So you have to have a shut off, and not necessarily that you just shut the business off, but you have to know, this is my time, this is me time,
Right.
this is time for my family, because frankly, that's the reason why you do it. So just as much as you are obsessed with your customers, you got to be the same with your personal life and your family, your kiddos, your wife, etc. Know that
Right.
that you have to be just as present for them as you are for your customers, because frankly, that's why you do
Great. Great. So one of the questions I wanted to ask is you bring in leaders or supervisors or even some employees. Does your organization use DISC or E-Colors or Myers-Briggs or any of those tests to help assess um, their potential?
it. Now we actually, it's funny you asked that. We use that at a former life. I love this. Um,
Mhm.
that is something that I think as we mature and develop into a much larger organization, I believe that strategy will come. I believe it's important to know the character of individuals. I think that's from a leadership standpoint. Not having that, I think that's where it's very important to have consistent one-on-ones with your employees that aren't just regulated to business, but that you get to know them as a person, that you know about their personal life. Because at the end of the day, they're bringing things to the office that are troubling in their personal life. So the more you know about them, the more familiar you are with them, the better it is you are, the better it puts you to coach. And you understand why there's, because there's things going on.
Gotcha. Great. So I'm a big advocate of Business Network International BNI. I've been a member for a while now, and I have a lot of followers on my social media. So if you could identify your ideal customer, and then from there I provide your ideal referral partner, that would really be great to end our interview today. So what's
Yeah.
your ideal customer?
Yeah, so really ideal customer is somebody that is a true partner. They're not necessarily looking for just pure price, but they're looking for a relationship, for somebody that what I classify as a 2 mile person in the 1 mile world, right? That we are going to go above and beyond for them. That they're going to be comfortable with what they're buying from us. So somebody that really wants to partner with you, and really truly understand that we're trying to sell a solution outside of just a transactional business. We want to, how I explain it to most customers is typically you hire an electrician because you don't know electrical and you don't want to shop, right?
Right.
So typically you hire a logistics company because you have a product you're making and it needs to ship, but you're not a shipper or you're not a transportation provider, right?
Right.
So that's where we come into play, and that would be really my ideal customer, somebody that really wants a long-term partnership, so that we can get to know each other and understand that there will be hiccups through the process, but we're going to be transparent. We're going to fix them. We're going to work through them, and we are truly there. The true north is for the success of both of us, both organizations.
Great. And so from an ideal referral, so in BNI, right, we have a lot of different professions that work, within our BNI groups. Who's your ideal referral partner then? Who could do referrals for you?
I mean, I would say word of mouth advertising to us. So one of my customers, referring us is the most ideal. Now, when it comes to maybe a specific vertical, anybody that's making a product that has to ship it, we're not really too closed off to maybe a specific vertical per se. We can do anything from small parcel all the way to imports, exports. We're an NVOCC freight forwarder. So we have customs clearance, etc. So we don't really close ourselves off to any specific industry per se. Nor do we really focus on a specific industry.
Gotcha. Great. So I want to wrap up here. Any last questions or comments that you have for me or for the audience that you'd like to tell them?
No, I think really the biggest thing in business really is caring about your employees and your customers as one and the same, right? Because your employees are just as much customers as the people that's actually giving you the business. And so, quite frankly, in some aspects, your employees are almost more essential than your customers, because if your employees aren't treating your customers correctly, you don't have those customers. And so you have to look at the world in that aspect. And I think empathy really it goes a long way. The world in itself looks at it as a weakness, but in reality, I think the more appreciation you show an individual, I think the longer they're going to want to work for you, and the harder they're going to work for you.
Great. Great. To wrap up, can you give us the name of your company again and how anyone can get a hold of you?
Yeah, so company name is Flatworld Global Solutions. You can find us at www.flatworldgs.com. And anytime you need something shipped, come look us up.
Thank you, Tyson. We greatly appreciate it. And thanks for the interview today.